WATD presents John Paul, the Car Doctor. All things automotive. Have questions? Call 781-837-4900. Now, here's John Paul, the Car Doctor.
Well, good Sunday morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Car Doctor program on 95.9 WATD. So, depending on your holiday, happy Cinco de Mayo or happy Greek Easter. So, or I guess technically Orthodox Easter. My mother was Albanian, and her Easter fell the same as the traditional Greek Easter. So, Jesse, you dyeing all your Easter eggs red?
I believe that did happen. Yeah. I got the Greek in-laws. They're all getting ready.
Well, there you go. And you sound a little tired today. You said you were up at 3 in the morning.
I was. Yeah, I stayed up to do a little barbecuing. I was smoking a big old brisket, and I'm tired because I also had to wake up like every 2 hours to make sure that I was maintaining temps and being a good old pit master or whatever you call them.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's good. So we were supposed to have Harry Nayar. He is the Vice President of Electrification and Sustainability at Merchants Fleet calling in, but we haven't heard from him yet. I just sent his PR people an email, so hopefully he'll be calling in at some point. But a couple of things that came up this week, and also we're going to do a review of not a car, an electric bicycle. We're going to be talking about that in a minute. And also, somebody called me the other day. They actually called me. That doesn't happen that often. But called me the other day, and they're working on a Buick. I think it's a 09 or 8 maybe. And they were looking for some wiring diagrams, and I did the best I could to try to provide them. And they also said, GM shop manuals, even if you try to buy them on eBay, are just expensive. It's the old days of one Motors manual or whatever manual you used to use. You got pretty much a lot of good information from it. And those old Motors manuals were about the size of a big dictionary, and you could fix just about any car. Today, I use ALLDATA mostly for technical resource. I also use Mitchell, or sometimes called On Demand, which is also a good program. I'm more familiar with ALLDATA because I've been using it since literally it came out back in the, I think, late 80s maybe. And so I'm just more familiar with the format than I am with Mitchell, but both of them are good. Mitchell's claim to fame, and I still think is, their wiring diagrams are some of the best you'll see anywhere. Navigation-wise, I just tend to like ALLDATA. But there is a something I found out there, and it is a technical resource, and it is under the email or under the IP address of, and it's not www, it's https://charm.li. charm.li. And it is essentially sort of every owner's manual I can think of. So https://charm, charm.li. And in the world of too good to be true, when it usually is, this has everything. And it has from Acura to Yugo, looking at their listing here. And what it says is, this is a collection of high-quality auto repair manuals that spans almost all makes and models from 1982 to 2013. Our data will be available free of charge permanently. You're entitled the right to repair, understand, and upgrade what's yours without paying extra for workshop manuals, navigating a site. It says navigating our manuals can be unintuitive. Well, keep that in mind. Multiple pages, different URLs may point you to pages with the exact same content. This is normal. Also, the blue boxes occasionally overlay the images and links that you can click on. We release the database and computer code that powers the Operation Charm publicly. This makes sure we do not monetize Charm and that someone else can be set up a new equivalent site if Charm goes down. The server is over 700 gigabytes and may be difficult to use if you're not a programmer. Download our data. You could do that, I suppose. But what I've found, and this guy was looking for a Buick manual, and I went on Buick, and I went to, I think it was a 2009, and it was a Lucerne with the, LaCrosse rather, with the 3.8 liter engine. And under repair and diagnosis, he was looking for some wiring diagrams, and as far as I could tell, it was all there. It had where all the relays were, all the diagrams, the different modules, and it was pretty good. It had the different wire colors, what to look for, what was used, what wasn't used, all the different pins, and what values they are. Just a good database of information, and the idea that it's free, it's really pretty good. It also had, what was interesting, it had some technical service bulletins, not that many. There was a few, but not that many, but mostly the idea that it had all of this information, service and repair information was there. A lot of good stuff in here. And again, that is perfectly free and available to anyone. And I don't know, maybe it downloads some terrible virus and it's going to cause your TV to stop working. I don't know. But to me, it seems like a pretty good resource, and I've used it on a few occasions where I was trying to find things that I couldn't find in other locations, maybe because of the age of the car, an older car, for instance. But the idea is valid up to 2013 if you're a do-it-yourselfer and you're working on an 11-plus-year-old car. Pretty good stuff. So something to keep in mind is http://charm, CHARM.li, no com or anything, CHARM.li. So something to look at and something to be able to use to maybe make your life a little bit easier. The other thing, and
makes it even easier. You don't have to type in the HTTP. You can just type charm.li.
Really?
Yeah,
really?
Yeah. That's the same. That's basically it's just a secure server thing. But
okay.
You can just type it; it'll pull it right up.
Okay, all right. But don't do www because it won't pull it up.
Very good. But I don't think you need to type the www ever.
Ever?
They've kind of corrected the internet. Yeah.
Everything? They fixed the internet finally?
They did. Yeah, it's perfect now. There's everything is true on the internet.
Yeah, that's what I understand. So, I just I know, for instance, when people want to get my podcast, and I have my own. I pay to have my own channel thing, whatever it is. And if I do www.johnfpaul.podbean.com, it kicks it out, so I have to do the HTTP : thing, whatever. But maybe because I don't pay enough money. Maybe that's it.
So you can skip the HTTP on that as well, and you could just type johnpaul.podbean.com. Yep.
Put an F in there, though. Or else who knows?
Oh, is there an F? Okay. Whose website am I on? What podcast is this? Why did I listen to all of it?
Who knows?
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you for that little technical tidbit, and we'll go on from there.
Just call me IT professional Jesse from now on.
And certified weather observer.
That's right. Yeah. The resume keeps growing.
It does. And
Pitmaster too.
Pitmaster. Yeah. All those things combined together. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yep. And you said we're probably just a couple of shows away from being back in the real studio, right?
It appears to be so. Yeah, we have signs of life in there. So no more construction. It looks like they're starting to put some computer monitors and some fancy new equipment that I don't even recognize yet. So it's pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, that'll be great. The first show we do together, you won't know how to do anything.
Well, that doesn't change much.
New stuff to learn. It's always good. Yep. So let us know if our guest calls in. That would be fantastic to know what's going to happen with that. And let's see. And we did get a response from the PR guy. Just chasing him now. It was all confirmed on Friday's. Apologies for this. So there you go. So he may still be calling in. So that's a good thing to know. The other thing is our buddy Paul from Somerville has commented to me a couple times about the Hyundai Kia thefts and how the police departments are concerned about that because of the TikTok craze. The Kia boys were on TikTok, and they showed people how to steal a Kia or a Hyundai that didn't have a push-button start, and police departments were very concerned about that. And in fact, in some cities and towns, they were handing out steering wheel locks. So, thing that goes around your steering wheel and really doesn't work, but maybe it would persuade a thief to leave your car alone, because they can be pretty easily defeated too. But the idea you can get your car fixed. If you own a Hyundai or Kia that is one of these vehicles that can be easily stolen, and they show it being stolen with a cell phone charger. It's got nothing to do with the cell phone charger, by the way. It just has to do with the USB plug that's on the end of a cell phone charger fits the slot that you need to turn to start the car. Be the same thing if you did it with a screwdriver. But anyway, but you can go to any Hyundai and Kia dealer with your car, and
so let's just say I obtained 13 of them after, maybe doing a TikTok challenge. Could I bring in all 13 of them?
The stolen ones? Probably wouldn't be a good idea. But I suppose once you were arrested, you could go to the Kia or Hyundai dealer, and then they could make them so you couldn't steal them again.
Gotcha. I got to protect it in case other people start doing the challenge.
Exactly. So, and Kia's going to, TikTok's going to be banned in the United States or something. Right?
I heard about that. Yeah, I think it passed. Passed on the floor, but it needs to go to the Congress.
I try not to pay attention to that stuff, so I don't know, but you can take your Kia or Hyundai to a dealer, and I have one of these Hyundais that can potentially get stolen, and I took it to the local Hyundai dealer. And in about an hour, they downloaded new software. So what happens is if there's no key present, the car won't start. So if someone smashes the ignition and gets to the part that actually is the lock part, breaks that out of the way, and then gets to it won't work.
It is weird. Like I had one of my delivery drivers. He had a Prius. Obviously, this is a little bit different, and it had like the key fob thing where if you're close enough to the car, you could start the car. Now,
right.
when he got his car stolen. But he still had the thing on him. And once it drives away a certain distance from the key, it's supposed to just shut off, right?
Nope.
Yeah.
Well, when it runs out of gas.
Okay. So they can just they drove around all afternoon to the point where the police stopped looking for them. So we all went out in our cars to go look for them. We eventually found them, and they were just cruising around doing drugs.
So how did you stop them? Or did you call the police?
Once we found them, we called the police, like, we are behind them right now. So please, we're on whatever street we were on, and they came, and then they finally cornered them and pulled them over, and they were going for a little cruise there, a little joyride. Yeah.
So the bottom line is, shut your car off, lock the doors, and take your key or key fob.
Yeah, you'd think in the wonderful city of Dorchester that our delivery drivers would be smart enough not to leave their car running while they go do a delivery. Yeah, but according to him, he didn't actually leave the keys in the car. It was unlocked, which is how they got in. But he was close enough with the key fob where they were able to press the button to start it off and then take off. It's crazy.
You got to be. There is stories that people leave their key fobs, right next to their back door, and the car's parked right next to their back door, and people will come along and they'll try the door handles, and if the car unlocks, they'll go, aha! The key fob's closed, and you get in. There's also, for apparently less than $100, if you're if you go to You Do It Electronics or someplace like that, you can buy enough stuff that makes an amplifier. So what you do is you hold it up next to the car or the house, and it's basically a big antenna, and it sends a signal from the car to the key fob and says, hey, I'm close by, and then you can get in the car and start it up and drive it away. I know someone who built one of those. He's an electronic engineer, and he actually built one in a couple of hours, and he drove away a car that didn't belong to him, that actually belonged to the company he works for, and said, see how easy this is. But it's somebody that's you got to be an engineer. And, if you're an electronic engineer, go get a real job. Don't steal cars.
Exactly. I believe we have your guest on the line.
Oh, well, good. So with us is Harry Nayar. He is the Vice President of Electrification and Sustainability for Merchants Fleet. Harry, good morning, and welcome to the Car Doctor program.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
Well, tell us a little bit, first off, about Merchants Fleet. They've been around for a long time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We've been around for many, many, many years now, and Merchants, in very simple terms, is a fleet management company. And what we do is really manage every aspect of fleet in relation to their vehicles, their vehicle operations. And at the end of the vehicle operational lifetime, we also step in and help fleets, defleet themselves and get into newer vehicles that are needed for their business. And everything in between, anything you can imagine that needs to happen to a vehicle in between those two spectrums, we handle it.
And just like a lot of companies now, AAA, who's my employer, we just added 36 Ford Lightning pickups to our light service fleet and a couple of Hyundai Ioniqs to our driving school fleet. You guys are moving towards electrification and helping fleets with electrification as well, right?
That's correct. And that's clearly what my responsibility is, to help, not just define what our strategic posture should be in relation to electrification, but also, help our clients across the United States take, meaningful steps towards electrification. I mean, it's great to hear that, you guys are taking in on those F-150 Lightnings and trying. Electrification is not where it is today, where everybody can jump in straight up and convert their entire fleet to EVs. But now is the time to do, small, meaningful steps towards an electrified future.
And the electrified future, like you mentioned, and I had somebody on our program back a while ago. He owned a moving company in Boston, and he decided the ideal in-city moving truck would be an electric vehicle box truck, because he's like, well, it can sit outside, it can sit, if we don't have to worry about it running. It's just an environmentally better vehicle, and the warehouse that he stores things in was like a lot of warehouses, completely flat roof. So he put solar panels on it, and he's like, basically, I use the truck during the day, and when it comes back, if it doesn't get used the next day, it charges up with the power of the sun, and even when it's not being charged up, I'm sending electricity back to the grid. So in that particular case, that truck is almost operated for zero cost. Now, of course, not everyone can do that, but that is also one of the options too, right?
It really is, and that's a great example what you just outlined there, where someone has, what we call in our business, has right-sized the application of that EV. We have a client who operates out of Atlanta and Los Angeles. Atlanta is their headquarters, and Los Angeles is a subsidiary division. But they have presence in pretty much every big metropolitan state. And I'm sure, you folks and everybody listening in, we have at least been to their stores once in our lifetime, if not more. I can't name them for obvious confidentiality reasons, but they have been trying box trucks with us for the last year plus. It's been remarkably successful. They have right-sized it for specific routes. Those routes fall well within the range capability of these box trucks, and the drivers absolutely love it. They have not gone as far forward as the example you mentioned, where putting up solar panels, etc. But that's in their future. Trying to control the generation of electricity locally so that they can utilize that for fleet operations.
And
I'm a EV.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. I'm an EV driver, and I have solar panels up on my roof, and 100% of my commute is powered by the sun.
And it's really the battery technology has changed. I remember, and it was probably 10 or more years ago, and I'm not exactly sure who it was, but I want to say it was like Lay's Potato Chip Company or something, had both box vans, and also they had sort of these little tractor-trailer looking things with these kind of fifth-wheel trailer, and they were electric, but 10 years ago, or a little bit, maybe even a little bit more, the battery technology wasn't quite there. But today, even in commercial purposes, the battery technology has improved, right?
Oh, remarkably. See, I'm an electrical engineer by training, and I started into the world of batteries about 18, 20 years ago now. And the sheer improvement in one's stability of performance, the energy density, and just the overarching performance of the batteries across, different temperatures, different applications is just absolutely remarkable. I mean, to give you an example, if you bought a laptop from Dell or somebody, let's say 12 years ago, how many hours would you get out of it? For one, the thing would be the size of a briefcase, right? And two, it's going to be running for maybe 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours, after which you absolutely need to plug it in. I mean, look at the laptops today. I mean, they go for a day, and you're streaming, you have, 15 tabs open on your browser, and you have Office applications running full steam, and the thing powers through. And that's a testament to how much the battery technology has improved, and also correspondingly how much the electronics that is drawing energy from the battery has improved in their efficiency. If you look at vehicle performance on batteries, it's just remarkably gone up in the last, say, even 3 years. I don't know if you've been following the news, but if you look at what China CATL, which is the largest battery manufacturer in the world today, they've just released a battery using lithium iron phosphate technology that's going to deliver about 1,000 kilometers of range.
That's amazing. It wasn't that many years ago that it looked like graphene was going to be one of the battery sources. Is that still feasible?
Graphene, is a I wouldn't call it a state of carbon, but it is an assembly of carbon atoms in a very specific structure. The problem with graphene is we still have not figured out how to mass manufacture it in a cost-effective and reliable way. Right? So graphene has not yet found its way into batteries. Maybe, give ourselves another 5 to 6 years, and it'll make its way through. But even without a highly structured entity like graphene, we're getting, energy density improvements in batteries that within, I would say, the next year to 2 years, probably sunset the term range anxiety from vocabulary very quickly.
And you mentioned, how battery longevity and all that. My employer bought a 2019 or 2020 Tesla Model 3, former Hertz rent-a-car. We bought it for training purposes. It has 90,000 miles on it. It's only lost about 20 miles of range in that, 4 or 5 years and 90,000 miles. So the idea that you were, at one point you were going to buy something like a Nissan Leaf and that was a few years old and it's going to have half the battery life it did when it was new. These new batteries are lasting a lot longer as well, right?
They are. They absolutely are. And the data is just starting to form because vehicles have been out there 7+ years now, approaching 8, and in the case of Tesla, approaching a decade or more, with meaningful miles on it. Meaningful miles being 150,000, 200,000 miles and counting, and you're seeing anywhere from in some cases 5% degradation of battery. The extremes that I've seen is approaching 15%. But even at that, right, that vehicle has usable life in it. It's not that what everybody was worried about is we're going to have a lot of steel that is just sitting there and worth nothing other than scrap metal value. That's not the case. The vehicles definitely have usable range, and that will open up, the secondary market for sure.
And before I lose my train of thought here, I wanted to go touch on hydrogen for a minute. Hydrogen looks like, I remember a bunch of years ago, either hydrogen, BMW had a 7 Series car that ran on hydrogen. It was basically an internal combustion engine that ran on hydrogen. Toyota just recently showed an engine, an internal combustion type engine that used hydrogen. Other cars used hydrogen to make electricity. Hydrogen, at least in the short term, do you think it's going to be more of a commercial fuel than sort of a consumer fuel?
That's what the trends are indicating. The problem with hydrogen really is not that we cannot make an engine or that we cannot make a fuel cell that will support in an automobile. The problem is that it's very difficult to store, transport, and refuel hydrogen. It's the lightest element in the periodic table. It's on the top left corner. It's impossible to store without leaks, or you got to get into, really, really crazy things like cryogenic storage or extremely high-pressure storage. Those are not, challenges to the extent of it's like solving nuclear fusion. That's not what I'm talking about. But the commercialization aspect of that is challenging to do it cost-effectively. We can do technology demonstrations, and numerous technology demonstrations have already been done that shows the viability of hydrogen, that shows that, we can transfer it from a tank into a vehicle. But more than likely, where this is going to start penetrating the transportation sector will be in commercial applications. And once the cost structures are optimized there, you'll probably start to see that move into the consumer side. Now, in full transparency, there may be some exceptions. Toyota has been extraordinarily positive on hydrogen for a long, long, long time. Amongst most automotive companies, they have been very, very, forward-thinking about this. So they may have something up the sleeve that is not yet public information. But even if you look at Toyota's hydrogen trials in the U.S., it's pretty much been limited to the Mirai vehicle that had a limited run in California, and that's about it.
Yeah. When it comes to batteries, there's always a concern about what happens with the old batteries. And I have read recently that lithium recycling is literally going to be $1 billion business. Do you agree with that?
I absolutely will. Let me answer that question with actually a question back to you. Let's go back maybe 20 years or so. What happened to the 12-volt lead-acid batteries once they died in cars?
Yeah, I mean, 12-volt batteries have become about 99% recyclable. Just about every component from the electrolyte to the lead plates to the plastic case gets recycled, and it's big business to do that. So, same idea. Yeah.
Same idea. And, but in the early days of the lead-acid batteries, right, they usually ended up in your garage or ended up in your town lake.
Yeah.
I hate to say that, but that's what happened. Or people just threw them in landfills because there was no recycling technology available that was commercially viable. We're at that inflection point with automotive propulsion lithium batteries today. But there are already trials. Again, I'm going to give China as an example. China has more than, I think, now probably approaching 10,000 vehicles that are running on the road with batteries that have been recycled and then reconfigured as new batteries. What I mean by that is the original batteries have been completely used up. They got crushed, burned, incinerated, and the materials extracted out of it. Those virgin materials have been put back into a new battery, and these new batteries are powering the 10,000-odd vehicles that are running. And the performance of those are on par with the pristine original battery that was on these vehicles, right? So that's just I see that as a case study. 10,000 is nothing, right, when you look at the entire transportation sector globally. But there are companies like, there's a Tesla spinoff. I think their name is like Redwood Technologies that have been at this for many, many years. And there are a few others that I speak to. I can't name them, obviously, but they're very forward-thinking in their ability to extract, the anode and cathode materials off of these lithium-ion cells, which is really where the value is. When you look at the battery in a lithium-ion high-voltage battery in a vehicle, the cells contain, the so-called materials of value. Everything else, we already have mechanisms to recycle. You have battery management system, which is electronics. We already know how to recycle electronics. There is plastics and housings, which the automotive industry already can recycle. And then there is the casing, which is, forged or metal or forged metallic components or welded structures, which can also be recycled. But today, where we are, it's still an emerging economy as I see it. There's not enough batteries going into recycling to make it commercially viable today. But that's going to change. That's going to change dramatically, and it'll be a multi-billion-dollar business in the coming years.
Recently, I wrote a column, and somebody called me out on it, and they said, I'm unsure about you. One minute you talk about electric cars and how you like them, and whether it's something like a Tesla or a Hyundai Ioniq or a Lucid and how fabulous they are, and the next thing you talk about a 810 horsepower Chrysler Dodge Hellcat. Do you like these cars or don't you? And you said you drive an electric car back and forth to work, but you're also a car enthusiast too, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah. I mean, I've been, loving automobiles since I was a little kid. I still have a collection of cars when I was little. But, I grew up overseas, so the vehicles that I saw and grew up around are vastly different than what are in the United States today. To me, turning my vehicle for personal use into electric was just was driven, I would say, by two fronts. One, the economic side of it, because a lot of stop and go driving, driving in and out of Boston, it's pretty much all stop and go. And all I'm doing is, burning gas and not actually traveling any meaningful distance on a normal commute. Why would I continue doing that, especially when I cannot control the price of gas or I cannot budget for it because some event that happens globally overseas changes my cost structure of commute quite dramatically, right, with gas prices. So when I found the opportunity to move to an EV, I did, and I've never looked back.
But if it's a nice spring day and you wanted to go out for a ride, is there a gasoline car you would want to take?
No, I'm now a complete EV household, so I'm fully electrified, and all of my driving is powered by the sun. I got plenty of solar up on my roof too.
Yeah, that's great. A friend of mine is the same way. He has a Chevrolet Bolt. He has a Tesla Model S. He has solar panels on his roof in his garage. Although I think way in the back of his garage he has a gas car still tucked away that he's been restoring for I think 25 years now. But same idea. He's like, we're all electric, and we've seen no reason to go back, and it's worked out. Before we let you go, there's always concerns about where we're going to get all this stuff to make batteries out of, but the Salton Sea right here in the United States supposedly has kind of under all that weird water and almost an unlimited supply of lithium, right?
Oh, yeah. See, the USGS had done a study about this many years ago. It was the U.S. Geological Survey, and there is plenty of lithium on this planet to satiate transportation sector's need and more. The problem, though, is, some areas it's not economical to do it today. If you follow the pricing of lithium at the height of COVID pandemic season, right? Mm-hmm. Pricing of lithium was not going the direction that everybody had projected it would. It was going the other way in terms of pricing of lithium was coming down. I don't know if it's at the height of COVID or maybe sometime towards that. But when price of lithium starts going down, some of these mines that started to operate, they started going out of business, which then flipped the pricing the other way. And that is all driven directly by this waxing and waning of vehicle demand that we see in the market today. Mm. But to answer your specific question, there is an abundance of lithium on the planet. I mean, it's not like helium where we only have a very limited supply and whatever remains just goes into outer space. No, we have enough lithium here, and if there is a strong demand, more and more economically viable extraction processes will become realistic. But back to your previous question, right? Do we really have to tear up the earth to go get more lithium? The answer will be no, because similar to that lead-acid battery, we're looking at a future where we have a cyclical process where spent lithium batteries go back and form brand new lithium batteries, and they will perform equally as the new ones, which will negate the need for more resource extraction.
If people want to find out more information about merchants and in the fleet management programs you have and the electrification programs you have? Is it just as easy to go to the website, because it's there is just an awful lot of information there, and I did a quick scan over how merchants has grown over the years, right from the very beginning, where the name actually came borrowed from the original bank that lent the money to start the company. So pretty interesting story in there.
It is, and I'll give you another story before I leave. 4 years ago, when I came to Merchants, the only EV in our parking lot was one. That was mine. That was it. Today, we have upwards of, I would say, 20 or maybe approaching 30 EVs, all owned by our employees, and then in some cases, our executive team, who have been mandated to only drive EVs, by the way. And we had 0 chargers 3 years ago in our lot, and now we're approaching 20-plus charging ports with the capacity to exceed up to 50 charging ports if we want to do that.
Wow!
So the growth has been remarkable. I will agree that the demand for EVs on the road waxes and wanes over time. But one thing that we're seeing is that the demand for EV and EV-related information, EV-related planning, consulting, support, that is through the roof, which to me indicates there's a pent-up demand, and we're going to capitalize on it when that comes.
There we go. Harry, I want to thank you for taking a little time out of your Sunday morning and joining us on the Car Doctor radio program.
Well, absolutely. It's been my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye. We're a little late for a break. Bye-bye. Why don't we take a quick break? My name's John Paul. This is the Car Doctor program. You're listening on 95.9 WATD. We'll be right back.
AAA is with you at every moment in your life. They have 24-hour 7 roadside assistance, which covers you in any car you're driving or riding in, even a rental or your friend's wheels. They have great member rates on home and auto insurance, savings on travel, hotels, and rental cars, and discounts on hundreds of your favorite brands. You're covered on and off the road. Learn more at aaa.com/join.
Start your Sunday off right with brunch at the Old Hitching Post in Hanson. The Old Hitching Post offers a full buffet brunch every Sunday from 10 to 1. Fill up on all your favorites like eggs and bacon, sausage, home fries, French toast casserole, mac and cheese, homemade hash, fresh seafood, rice, veggies, fresh fruit, quiche, yogurt parfaits, pastries, ham, omelets, eggs Benedict, and more. The Old Hitching Post Sunday brunch from 10 to 1 at 48 Spring Street, Route 58 in Hanson. Online at oldhp.com. That's oldehp.com.
Hey there, folks. It's Quinn Kelly reminding you to tune in Sunday night at 5 for the South Shore's first voice in sports talk radio, The Sports Exchange. Unmatched coverage of local high school action, as well as a relatable voice on all things Boston Pro Sports. We've got you covered live at 5 every Sunday night. Have a question for our host, missed last week's show, or just want to share a great sports story? You can find us on Twitter at SE on WATD. But remember, mark your calendar, folks, and we'll see you Sunday night at 5 for the Sports Exchange on 95.9 WATD.
Make an appointment Sunday morning at 11 for John Paul, the Car Doctor, on 95.9 WATD. Now, back to the Car Doctor.
And welcome back to the Car Doctor program on 95.9 WATD. I want to talk about a bicycle that I've been riding. Yeah, a bicycle, not a car, but can a bicycle replace a car? Recently, I've been testing an e-bike, so an electric assist bicycle. It's called a T2 cargo bike from Fiido, F-I-I-D-O, depending on how you want to pronounce it. It's powered by a 750-watt electric motor. The T2 has pedal assist and can be pedaled without an electric assist or powered by the electric motor. I'm lazy. I've been using it mostly just with the electric motor. The pedal assist uses a 7-speed Shimano shifter and derailleur, so something I recognized as far as a name, a quality name. The large removable 48-volt battery can provide up to 62 miles of power-assisted range at full throttle. The speed's limited to about 15 miles an hour, but can be unlocked to increase the speed to 24 miles an hour, although you lose about 50% of the range. In pedal assist mode, you can range is over 70, but you can, if the battery went completely dead, you can pedal it like any other multi-speed bike. And you can pedal it at 14 to 15 miles an hour easily. And like the whole point of an e-assist bike is you pedal and it kind of goes a little by itself, or you go full power and never pedal, do the lazy way. It has a comfortable seat. It's a Velo saddle, which is pretty wide and comfortable. 70 miles of riding, more time I want to spend on any bike seat, personally. What makes this bike interesting is the overall design. It uses 20-inch one-piece wheels. There's no spokes. They're sort of mag-style wheels, for want of a better word. And this one also has 3.5-inch fat tires. I actually had a flat tire with it, so I had to remember how to fix a bike tire. So I had to go get the little bike tire repair kit and pull the tube out and fix it. And it was a 350/4-inch tube, which I couldn't find a new one, so I fixed the old one. Worked out fine. Design provides a stable feel. The wide tires perform well, even on unpaved roads. It's not an off-road bike, but it can handle dirt roads, groomed trails really well. There's a large frame-mounted rack in the front with an optional basket that you can mount on the front. It doesn't turn. It's actually mounted to the frame, which adds to stability, but if you put a big basket on the front, the handlebars bang into it. So you need a lower basket or something. You can strap a bag to it. In the back, there's this extended frame. They call it a long tail, and it can hold a large accessory cargo box. I made one out of some scrap wood, and they claim you can put kids' car seats back there. Don't know. The rear cargo area can hold 150 pounds, and the total overall weight capacity is 440 pounds. I actually did road service with it yesterday. A neighbor of mine had a flat tire on her golf cart, and on the tires on her riding lawnmower were flat. So she said to me, "Can you put air in my tires? I have an air compressor," which may or may not have worked. I didn't know. But I had a little battery air compressor, the Works one that I use, and I put it in the back and rode up to her house, stopped at a yard sale on the way, bought a couple things at the yard sale, put it all in my little cargo box, but it worked out pretty well. The front and rear brakes are hydraulic disc brakes. They provide better stopping ability in wet weather than conventional rim brakes. The T2 was also ranked as IP5 for, what does that mean? It means the electronics are water resistant. Not waterproof. You're not going to go through a stream, but you're not going to pressure wash it. But, if you get caught in the rain, no big deal. There's a small digital display that provides range information, miles per hour, battery level charge, trip time and distance. There's a functioning rear brake light, which I really like, and a large LED front headlight. It's probably one of the best lights I've seen. I've ridden another e-bike at night. The light was okay, but my aging eyes need more light. This works out really good. I think with its combination of long range, ample storage, and solid construction, the T2 by Fiido can accommodate a variety of everyday transportation needs. It's suitable for commuting, errands around town, exploring the sites, and even urban deliveries. Could Jesse's Pizza Shop deliver pizzas on an e-bike? Probably. I'm not sure if an electric bike will ever replace a car as a primary vehicle, but this e-bike, depending on where you live and the weather you live in, I think can meet a lot of your needs, and it can save you money. You plug in, and there you go. So, and it's pretty stylish at the same time. And I like the construction. I think I mentioned when we were talking to the rep last week that I liked the construction. The welds were really well done. The paint was really well done. The T2 actually uses a flat black style paint. Just kind of looks nice. Looks sort of military-ish. Somebody, when I was at the yard sale, a woman said to me, "Nice bike," and she said, "I usually say that for Harleys, but that's actually a good-looking bike." So there you go. The T2 Longtail by Fiido. You can check out Fiido.com and find out more information. Why don't we go to, I believe we have Bob on the phone. Bob, good morning. Or not. Bob.
Been listening to your show. Hello.
Hello.
Hi there. I've been listening to your show. Really enjoy it.
Thank you.
I'm a retired electrician by trade, and
have I got some questions for you then? But that'll be another time. That'll be another time.
Yes, it will be. I'm just really concerned about the obvious elephant in the room, which is the electrical grid. As you become 10,000, 100,000 electric vehicles, the electric grid is bursting right now. So, I think that's just swapping one major problem for another. Your
Yeah,
thoughts on that?
I thought the same thing, and I guess you believe what you want to believe. I talked to people from National Grid, and I said, what about the electrical grid, especially around the Boston area, and especially in the suburbs? And I think it was up in Medford. They actually had these electric vehicle charging stations that were mounted on utility poles that you went up and you used an app, and the charging cord would lower down from the pole. You plug it into your electric car, and when it was done, you'd unplug it and go back up. And they claim that they are making routine and deliberate upgrades to the electrical grid all the time. Now, is that just a good PR story? I don't know. Is it getting better? I don't know about that either. I know that we have if you go to some of these electric substations that are run by most of the electric power in our area is done by natural gas. And I was at, it might have been in the Milford area down around there. There was an electric substation. They asked me to come talk to them one day. And I said to them, nothing seems to be working. And they said, well, this is only in case we need to put more power onto the grid. We fire the gas generators up and, we have seamlessly, we can add more power to the grid. And are they doing more of that? I'm not sure, but you're right. It's sort of like, if you go back 20 years and you went over a neighbor's house and they had a big screen TV, and you're like, wow, look at that. I want a big screen TV. Next thing you know, everybody on your street's got a big screen TV because everybody saw it, they liked it, they've got one, they watched the Super Bowl or, the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade on the big screen, and they went, wow, this is great. And kind of, do you look at that with electric vehicles like Hari Nayar said from Merchants Fleet? In a couple of years, he believes the term range anxiety will be gone. Well, if that's the case, all of a sudden, you might want an electric car. I might want an electric car. And what's that going to do to the grid? Well, National Grid and the others better be prepared for that, is all I can say.
Well, I'm just seeing brownouts during the summertime, and you add that enormous load, and that is not a small load charging those EVs.
No. It's like running your stove or an electric dryer. I mean, most of them are running off of 40 or 50 amp outlets at people's homes. The good thing is a lot of them are using smart chargers where when you go to bed at night, then all of a sudden the charger comes on while the electrical demand is less. But yeah, I read something, and I don't remember if it was Texas or California, who knows, and they said something about last summer they were asking people with electric vehicles not to charge their cars. Now, like all things you read, was that true or was that something somebody heard somebody say? I don't know. But I know they did have rolling brownouts all across Texas, so maybe.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, just something to think about, and I'm just really concerned about it myself. I mean, I don't own an EV, but we've been, I'm retired now, but on the side, I've done a few charging installations, and they're running 40 to 60 amps, especially for the fast chargers.
Right.
And that's a huge load. It really is.
Yeah. No, I mean, I split my time now between, we sold our little house we lived in forever, and we split our time between a little cottage on Cape Cod and a mobile home in Florida, and neither of them really have the capacity to run an additional 40 amp circuit anywhere. The cottage is, 100 amp breaker panel that pretty much maxes out the street, I think. And, here I have a 150 amp panel, but it's got to run an electric stove and an HVAC unit. So, and an electric water heater. So I don't have the surplus capacity even here without doing some kind of serious upgrade to the house. And sure. I'm not prepared to do that yet. Now, could I slow charge on 110 volts? The same plug I plug my, lawnmower into? Yeah, I suppose I could. It just takes a really long time. So I think the system is there, and I'll say what I've said for years. I think right now we're sort of in that golden age of cars where if you want to buy an electric car and you have the capacity to charge at home, go buy one. And if you want to go buy a 800 horsepower Hellcat, go buy one of them too. You know, I think we have some good choices out there. You want to go buy a Ford F-150 that's powered by gas or diesel, you can buy one. If you want to buy one that's powered by electric, go buy one. I think the choices for consumers right now are expensive, but I think there's choices, and I think choice is a good thing.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks, Bob.
Love your show.
All right, thank you. All right, appreciate you calling in.
Every week.
Thank you very much. All right, you as well. Why don't we take another break? My name's John Paul. This is the Car Doctor program. We will be right back.
Start your Sunday off right with brunch at the Old Hitching Post in Hanson. The Old Hitching Post offers a full buffet brunch every Sunday from 10 to 1. Fill up on all your favorites like eggs and bacon, sausage, home fries, French toast casserole, mac and cheese, homemade hash, fresh seafood, rice, veggies, fresh fruit, quiche, yogurt parfaits, pastries, ham, omelets, eggs Benedict, and more. The Old Hitching Post Sunday brunch from 10 to 1 at 48 Spring Street, Route 58 in Hanson. Online at oldhp.com. That's OLDEHP.com.
AAA is with you at every moment in your life. They have 24-hour 7 roadside assistance, which covers you in any car you're driving or riding in, even a rental or your friend's wheels. They have great member rates on home and auto insurance, savings on travel, hotels, and rental cars, and discounts on hundreds of your favorite brands. You're covered on and off the road. Learn more at aaa.com/join.
You let that mountain reach high. You let that river run wide.
Hi, this is Jeff Neely.
And this is Joe Clapp.
And I'm Stephen Davis.
We're Humble Roots. Tune into Twilight Showcase Radio.
Hosted by Sandy Stride and Keith James.
On 95.9 WATD and 95.9WATD.com.
And of course, visit twilightshowcase.org.
Twilight Showcase, tonight from 8 to 10 on 95.9 WATD. Make an appointment Sunday morning at 11 for John Paul, the Car Doctor, on 95.9 WATD. Now, back to the Car Doctor.
Welcome back to the Car Doctor program. I think we're going to Jim next. Jim, good morning. Jim, is that you? Hello, Jim. Jim? Jim? Hello, Jim.
1 second.
All right. Jesse's figuring this out. So while he's figuring this out, I got an email from somebody who's... Oh, Jim, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Jesse had technical difficulties.
Okay, no worries. So thank you for taking my call. I've got a 2011 Toyota Camry, 4-cylinder with about 100,000 miles on it. And having a minor issue with the transmission... say I'm backing out of the driveway or in the parking lot, car will be in drive, and you push on the gas a little bit, and the car doesn't move. The engine will rev, but the car doesn't move. It's as if someone put it in neutral, so the car doesn't move, and it's only for about 3 or 5 seconds, and then it operates properly. So did the ATF change about 10,000 miles ago, and as you probably know, there's no dipstick in this transmission. It uses the overflow tube, and you have to have an app to measure the temperature and all that. So the last time it was done, the mechanic didn't do that. They just measured the amount of fluid that came out and put in the same amount. So I don't know if it's I don't know if it has the fluid level's okay, if it's high or low. I'm just wondering if you've seen this before. My thought was do another transmission fluid change and do it the way the manual says with the overflow tube and the temperature to make sure it's done properly. But ahead of that, is there anything I should be looking at?
No, I would still be looking at fluid condition and see what the condition of fluid looks like. What you're describing though is pretty typical of a front pump that's starting to get a little bit weak and just can't build up pressure right away. I'm sort of on the fence about flushing transmissions. Flushing a transmission to me is something you do kind of as a last-ditch effort because you're basically forcing fluid in an opposite direction, which is good because it washes away some of the garbage that's in the transmission if it's a sticking valve, for instance. But but the problem is it also washes away the stuff in the wrong direction, and it can start to cause some problems. I've seen flushing a transmission solve problems and get somebody another 10,000 miles out of it, and I've seen some that it works worse when you're done. I would start personally. I would start with doing just what you're going to do. I would drain the fluid. Can you do it without the temperature compensation? Yeah, you can. I mean, you're putting fluid in through the bottom port and wait for it to come out of the top, and it's full kind of thing. If the fluid levels were low to start off with, and they were kind of putting in what they took out, well, first off, where did it go? Is there a leak in the transmission? If there wasn't a leak, in theory, if you take 4 quarts out or 3 quarts out, you put 3 quarts back in, and it should be full.
Right.
But I would try changing the fluid again just to see what happens. But I suspect what you have is a front pump that the seals are getting weak in, and when you first put it into gear, especially reverse gear that takes more pressure, it takes a few seconds for that pressure to build up. The other possibility is that the torque converter has a valve in it that allows the torque converter to stay full of fluid. It's a check valve. And what may be happening is the check valve has got weak, so the torque converter drains out a little bit. So when you put it into gear, it takes a minute for the torque converter to fill back up to apply pressure to the transmission. That's a possibility as well. And maybe in that case, flushing might help. But I would just do a standard drain and refill and see what it acts like after that. That's where I'd go. I mean, that's been a pretty solid transmission over the years. So,
yeah, we've had multiple Camrys with 200 plus on each, and never had a problem with any of them with the transmissions or engines. But I was always able to do the fluid change with the dipstick. This is the first one that has the overflow tube and all that. And I would only do a change. I agree. It's mixed. The flushes are mixed reputations on that. So. Right. I would only do the change, and that's it's not. I assume it's not that difficult to do it with the app, right? You have a phone, the app, and you measure the temperature.
I mean, the last one I did honestly was in someone's driveway, and I did it without the app, and I just used the regular fill procedure and a little pump that comes with it, and it worked fine.
Right.
Yeah.
And
all right. Hey, Jim, we're just about out of time. We got to go.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Yeah, we're just about out of time. I think it's time for us to get going. Next week, we're going to be talking to a really interesting company about how to keep your car all nice and shiny with something called Sauce. So what's Sauce? Well, you'll find out next week.